So this is simply an exposure that all is complete as it is. Complete, fulfilled, whole, free, boundless. Lots of words seem to come out of this absence of the someonehood dream, but it's really seemingly unnameable, indescribable. What is exposed is something that cannot really be talked about. But it would seem that everything is just totally timelessly as it is. So that's it, really. There's nothing else. And there's not even this. This is totally free as it is. Whatever's happening is just absolutely boundless, chaotically wild, passionate, free on no one's terms. This is just freedom as everything that's happening. Everything that's happening is just totally free, without agenda, without meaning, without need to move in a direction or not a direction, without dimension even, without layers, without intention. Nothing at all, and yet totally boundlessly free. There's no time in this, really. There's the appearance of memories, but there's no time. There's no real before and after. So when the whole before and after sense is seemingly not happening, it's so obvious that this can't be moving in any direction at all, let alone space as well. So space and time just seem to be appearances. There seem to be appearances in it, in this experience of personal experience. So memories of obviously still appear, ideas may still appear, thoughts may still appear, perceiving and sensation, but there's just no one at the center of any of this. And what's exposed is that this sense of being a person is just a complete illusion. It's not a reality at all. So when it's said that it's an illusion, there's absolutely no recognition that anything needs to change with that either, because it's just seemingly energetically what's happening. So all there is energy, and energy appears as some sort of position. Doesn't really seem to appear as a position in what's happening. It is what's happening. What's happening appears as a position, a sense of being here in a body, with a body. And that position seems to come with it these aspects of knowing what's happening, relating to what's happening, owning what's happening, and doing what's happening. This is how it seems to appear. It feels like someone's in charge here. Like someone's in charge running this, controlling what's happening, thinking about what to do, what to say, how to behave, and so on, even how to think and feel. And this is again, it's revealed that this isn't substantial at all. There's no control. There's no control whatsoever. There's not even a glimmer, an inch of control. And there's no real relating, so there's no real knowing or owning or relating to what's happening, because there's no real separation for there to be any of those things either. And that would only seem to come about through this local sense, because when there's a sense of localization, everything else seems distant somehow. So when there's a sense of distance, everything else is seemingly related to and known and claimed in a way. But this separate experience of being local and here is, as has been said, it's not real or substantial. There's no substance to it whatsoever, and yet can appear a sense of real solidness, solidity. And this exposure is that that's already not real, it's already not substantial, it's already not really happening. So it's already not really happening. So in a way, absence is actually everything. Absence is all there is, and what's longed for is the absence of separation. So there's no process that could be made out of this, because that would require time as well. there's no progression towards absence because absence is everything. There's no way in which this separate experience can go, although it may try. Well, it doesn't really do anything, but there may be the appearance of trying to go somewhere, get something, achieve something, analyze, conceptualize, intellectualize it. There can all be all these attempts that appear, but that's also needless freedom, which doesn't need to change. So there's no process to be made. There's no progression. There's absolutely nothing to be done. Nowhere to go. No one to be going or doing or even staying still. It's already timelessly complete as it is, totally free and boundless. And even the sense that it's feeling confined, constricted, restrained. This too is absolute freedom. And that kind of exposure can seemingly just allow without process there can just seem to be a sort of allowing, but it's the absence of any sort of progress at all. It's just there's just a sort of indescribable allowing that can seem to be apparent, which is no longer feeding anything or anyone. There's no recognition that there is anything or anyone to feed, to change, to solve, to heal. This is it as it is, totally free. And what cannot be really emphasized enough, although even words and only words can say it, is that this has got nothing to do with words, actually. So it's this communication, this exposure sort of seems to use words to expose this. It seems to use words to say that it's not about the words. But what can never really seemingly be exposed is not through words. It's got nothing to do with language, really. So what can happen is getting tangled up in concepts and terminologies because people love something to do and love something to chew on, love something to think about. What does energy mean? What does nothing being everything mean? How can I analyze my way through this and make it more apparent and clear from my experience? It's nothing to do with any of that. So words and terms seemingly happen. They seem to have a clarity about them, but this sense of individuality has got nothing really to do with conceptually understanding something or being a bit more clear about emptiness, because that will just do nothing. It's that's just conceptually changing the framework of the way thoughts apparently appear, which doesn't matter, doesn't make a difference. And why should it? It doesn't need to be any different than what it is. But yes, somehow or other, there can just be an opening or a receptivity, a resonating, or a basking, which is already, of course, basking is in a way all there is. It's sort of a boundless basking. There is only basking. That just seems to be apparent.
Hi, Alexis.
Hey, David.
Somebody that I used to talk with about this had a phrase. He used to say that the individual lives in a bubble of self-reflection,
Mm.
and I mean, he even had an image he'd mocked up of someone sat in lotus position inside a soap bubble, and it. I was thinking about this yesterday, and it suddenly struck me that. Nobody can burst the bubble because the separation is the bubble.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't live in a bubble. It
It
is
is a bubble.
illusory bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And something you were talking about, a couple of things you were talking about yesterday on the meeting. Can't remember exactly how you. I think you were saying something like the brain simulates a me.
Well, that sounds like possibly a conversation that was happening between Alexis and JP, or
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I no, I mean, I'm having a scientific background. I'm quite interested in
Mm.
some of the neuroscience aspects of what they're their exploration of consciousness and so
hmm
on, and the whole thing of what's known as the hard problem of consciousness, because nobody
Yeah.
nobody really knows what it is. And something I was reading the other day, someone says there's not really there isn't really consciousness. The brain simulates consciousness.
Yeah, this is a theory that's seemingly being reappearing
Mm,
for a long time, but more recently it seems to be happening too. And
yeah,
a popular theory that seems to be appearing or showing up at the moment is that the self is constructed by the left hemisphere of the brain. And
yeah, I've
I
not
find
heard
it
that.
quite laughable in a way because it just
Mm,
sounds utterly ridiculous. And it's just got nothing to do with anything because uh, it's suggesting that the self sense is important somehow, that it's actually required to make things happen, and it's so obviously
mm,
useless. It serves no purpose whatsoever because what use does it serve if there's no chooser going on for a start? There's just this as it is. It's openly expressing and talking and walking, and everything is happening totally without this self sense. Yeah. And
yeah,
concepts and terms and language seems to form, and you can tell stories about evolution and all of this and that, but the whole sense, which can only be reduced to a sense without pissing anyone off with words, because that's amusing. But the whole sense of individuality is felt. It's not a concept. It's so obviously, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's a felt sense. There's you call it energy or contraction or concentrated or local, it doesn't matter what it's described as because it's not a real thing anyway, and it doesn't need to be described or explained or elaborated on. But that is a felt sense of being in a body, with a body, having a body, knowing a body, and it's not a reality. There is no
mm,
self. There's no
mm,
self at the center of the body. That's all.
yeah. Well, I mean, left brain, right brain. I mean, that's just another dualism, isn't it?
Yeah, and it gives me something to do in a dream when there's a need for something to happen or something to do, something to be getting on with, thinking about. It gives me something to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, maybe it's the left hemisphere. I'll think about that. I'll study neuroscience. I'll look into it. I'll meditate on it. Blah blah.
yeah.
Off I go.
Yeah, I mean, I've read accounts of brain operations where they stimulate parts of the brain. The patient's conscious, and the patient might raise its arm or laugh or something. And when asked why they did, they come up with a total rationalization. Oh,
Yeah.
I did that because I just thought of something funny. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But until the so-called body has seemingly left this centered sense behind, it can never really seem to get, and it wouldn't get it anyway, but it can never really seem to taste what's being expressed in so-called meeting. It just can't. It can't comprehend the absence of that center, that self sense. It thinks it's ridiculous, or it comes out with criticism, misinterpretation, ridicule, distorting what's being shared, because it just cannot comprehend what the absence of me is. But it's ever so simple. It is already what's happening.
mm,
There's already no center.
yeah, thanks.
I mean, it's nothing special. You know, it's nothing remarkable. It really, again, that can't be expressed enough either. It's like this isn't some sort of dynamic samadhi that anyone's going to attain to if they listen closely enough. It's just already simply what is. This me experience might be waiting around for some dynamic, explosive, extraordinary, dramatic event where everything is lotus flowers and blossoming and golden and wonderful and rainbows and colors, and you know, it's just it's just this. It's just this already. Totally, stunningly, magically ordinary. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, many years ago when I came across Osho, and I was quite taken with his commentaries on. I think he had a book called The Search, which was a commentary on the 10 Bulls of Zen, and he spoke a lot about ordinariness.
Yeah.
And at the time, I became very attracted to the idea of ordinariness, but not this ordinariness, a special kind of
Yeah.
ordinariness.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Hi, Alexis.
Hey,
So this might be a silly question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
it's okay.
So what is it that seems this energy to be contracted? Because for me, it seems it's my thoughts, it's the sensations in the body which I'm giving attention to, and then
No.
it feels like contracted. What is it?
No, this really doesn't seem to have much at all to do with thoughts. It's simply a sense. It just feels like a sense of being in a body or with body. It's like there's the sense that someone is living in a body, inhabiting it, like a tenant or something. And thoughts appear, but they appear totally regardless of if someone's inhabiting them or not owning thoughts. There's just thoughts appearing. So there's no validation that thoughts need to change, that they're affecting this or that they're wrong, because there's no cause and effect. There's no real separation between events for them to connect to each other, and there's just thoughts appearing. So this sense is purposeless. It's purposeless freedom appearing as a sense of being here. And out of that would seem to appear something's missing. I need to go looking for it.
So why is it sometimes appearing as contracted and sometimes as loose?
Well, there's no why really. There's no purpose to it, as it's been said. There's no meaning to why it. I mean, there's no path to this. There's no storyteller or authorship making this a certain way for a certain reason. Energy just seems to feel like it's local to a human body, and out of that claims that there's an individual, and only in that individual sense does the question why seem to appear, because it wants to know what's going on. Why is this happening? Why is it happening to me? Moreover, you know, it all seems very personal and serious and important and meaningful, and it's none of those.
Because after some glimpses, it feels like, like you're describing, there is no center.
Hmm.
And there is like this lightness in the body. It's
Yeah.
appearing as there.
Yeah.
And yet after, you know, it's again here this density
Hmm.
and this energetically it feels again so tight, everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, the questions which is coming is like, why is it? Like, why is playing once
Hmm.
this and other time it's just who is playing? Like all this.
Hmm. Yeah.
I understand that it's just energy appearing as
Yeah.
something in a form. I understand that. But yeah, something wants to know like why it's sometimes appearing as this and sometimes appearing as that. But there is no answer to that. I know.
Well, not a satisfying one. No, there's
Yeah.
no satisfying answer because there's no why. It's suggested that there's no meaning to any of this because there's no separation for there to be this means that, and there's no real timeline either. This is all timelessly free. It's vaster than vast, really. It's boundless. There's no space in this either. So there's no space or time, and there's no direction for this to be moving into or towards or away from. There's no limitations. So there's no reason why any of this is happening. But yeah, energetically, there can seem to be like a pulsating sense that something is contracting and expanding. That can seem to happen for the body, with the body. It can seem like there's some sort of pulsating going on, which is freedom, as it is. Expanding, contracting, pulsating. But yes, when it's exposed that there's no center, seemingly from absence, that can seem to resonate somehow. There's no
And
self. There's no. It's like in the same way that it was thought for many, many, many years that the Earth is the center of the universe, and
yeah.
then it's exposed that no, the Earth is not the center of the universe. It's like the me is not the center of the body. There's no center to the body. There's no me. There's no center. There's just totally this. It's not even interior or exterior. There's no dimension.
And yet, after the glimpse, it seems like the seeking gets even stronger. Like I want to, go back to that because it feels so good.
Mm. Only in the timeline, yeah. Only in the timeline
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stories seem to emerge that I had a glimpse, I want to go back. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
What is rather sad for this separate sense, this separate energy or experience, is that it never gets freedom because freedom is already everything. It never gets liberation. It never gets its own absence. It dies into it.
And yet, it seems like like there is this limitation as a bubble, around the self, and somehow it needs to pop, like. But it's like when the glimpse happened, like there was no meditating, there was just doing groceries, and suddenly like there was no me. It was like exactly like I was the bubble, and suddenly it just popped, and there was this sense there is no censor, there is no limits, there is no borders anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
maybe
then
hopes for
it
that
just,
to happen again so as to prevent it.
then somehow the bubble grows back, or I don't know.
Yeah. And what it can't seem to stand hearing is that that doesn't matter. It doesn't need to go away
Yeah.
because it will live on the notion that it needs to go away and that something needs to happen. So I'll hope for a better dream, a better future. Can't seem to sustain or live when it's, exposed that it's illusory. There's no one in it. There's no doership, authorship, or even knowing going on. And there's nothing that can happen to bring its own absence about, and this is like totally exposed in all of its rawness. This is how, I mean, not how, but can just seem to open something. But that's not a process. Can't be said enough. It's not a process. Not timely. It's not meaningful. It's not initiated.
Yeah.
It's not anything. It is already. The word that me never hears. Already. Hello, open circle.
Hi, Alexis. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah. I want to hear what you say about sometimes this contraction is so heavy, and then we do some breathing practices or relax or just listen to some rain sounds and this contraction expands.
Well,
what do you say about this?
That would seem to be more like relaxation and meditation and, helping body to relax. It wouldn't seem to really affect the self sense. It might just change the experience for the self sense. That's what seems to happen. So doing asanas and pranayama and nidara, this and that, it seems to help body relax, calms the nervous system. There's an endless list of anatomical benefits for these things, but it doesn't really seem to affect the self sense. It just gives the self sense perhaps a more pleasant and comfortable experience or state to apparently abide in.
But what about when you fall asleep? The sense of self.
Exactly. So no one falls asleep. Falling asleep happens, and being asleep is what's apparently happening, but no one knows it. It's absence. Unless dreaming is happening. Deep dreamless sleep is total absence. That's what this is.
I had this thought this morning about the Shiva and Shakti, Shiva being the awareness and Shakti being the energy. This is the duality. There is awareness, and this energy changes its frequency. Sometimes it is pleasant, sometimes unpleasant, sometimes painful, sometimes pleasure, but with awareness. But on the side of Alexis, there is no awareness, only the Shakti dancing. Is that so?
Shaking the Shakti all over, yeah. Yeah, there's already no awareness. Yeah, there's already no awareness. I mean, if we're talking about Shiva and Shakti in that way, then Shakti must be Kali in disguise because she kills him.
She kills Shiva. Oh, wow. What about that?
Yeah. It's the feminine, but yeah, there's just, I mean, simply put, there's no real awareness. Awareness is the distance between the subject and object. That's how the word awareness is talked about in this meeting. Awareness requires distance. It requires two things for one to know the other. I mean, calling subject a thing is also a bit misleading, but all words are. But there's just no distance, therefore there's no sense of knowing, therefore there's no sense of awareness. It's totally immediate in a way. I mean, no word could ever describe immediacy, because even the word immediacy doesn't, because that is what is. So me might look around for that, look for unknowing. Yeah. And is it amazing that all bodies, at least most, seem to love sleep, love deep, dreamless sleep, and yet avoid absence?
But when you say avoid absence, it seems like they're purposefully doing it.
No. No, it's just the appearance of avoidance happening. Seeking for something to know about.
How do you differentiate between observing and awareness?
I don't really make
Yeah.
any distinction between those, unless you're talking about what's happening seemingly in this conversation. This body would seem to be observing facial expressions and tone of voice and this and that, but there's no distance, therefore there's no awareness in it. So you could make that distinction perhaps, but observing, witnessing, awareness, consciousness, knowing, in a way they all kind of, without meaning to be lazy, they all just get lumped into the same category of the distance dream, when what's apparent is distanceless freedom. So there's no sense that there's a someone seeing another someone and there's a conversation between two separate bodies. That's not happening. There's just conversing seeming to happen without a position, without two positions, no position.
It's like look into yourself, but there is no yourself. It's one.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, no no one, just one in a way, or none.
I had some, this is what you're saying, like when you're on the psilocybin mushrooms, this sense of self goes away.
Mm.
And there's just only one, there's no seer, there is no object, there is no, can you relate to that?
Yes, but it would only seem to be an artificially induced state again, which just it seems to artificially alleviate the separation experience. But for many, if not all, I mean, I spoke with quite a lot of people who are into psychedelics, and it always comes back. There's no recognition that this is assisting the end of the me dream. It's just providing an artificially induced absence.
But it makes a big difference after that, in perceiving the world after that.
Yeah, the
When you have
experience.
even artificial. Yeah.
Yeah, the experience might come back and it might try and integrate that into its daily life and all this and that, but it still seems to go on in the dream thinking that it's still doing that it's still navigating separation with some sort of apparently deeper understanding of non-separation. But energetically, the self-sense still seems to remain, which doesn't matter, by the way. There's nothing wrong with psychedelics. I mean, they're great. But they just don't seem to, they don't really seem to do anything when it comes to this. Nothing does, because it's not already happening.
It seems like the nature has left some mystery there, to experience the non-dual state.
Yeah, because it's not a state, you see. It's not a state. Yeah, it's all there is. It's stateless. Yeah. Because me, again, this experience will always want something extraordinary. It perhaps wants something, dynamic and explosive, and psychedelics are up there with explosive, experiences and colors and vibrancy, geometrics, dancing flowers. It's like it's full of it. It's like everything that dream wants. It's extraordinary, but what is so ordinary. It doesn't really want the simplicity of this, and it can't have it anyway because it's the end of it. It's not getting its own absence. Its own absence is not an object. It's not a thing that someone has. It's the end of it. It's the end of the sense of grasping an object and the subject going after it.
What might happen to the patterns of behavior, when this collapse happens, or the apparent collapse?
Anything can seem to happen. And it doesn't need to play out in any specific way. It's also free to be as it is. So, body might drop everything that it was doing before, or it might just go on quite simply as it was before. There's no telling. Maybe some changes, maybe not. It doesn't matter. It's all timeless and processless anyway.
It's a hypothetical question again. If, let's say, all these individual bodies on this planet have no awareness, everybody, there's no sense of separation, would there still be evolution? What do you think?
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. It doesn't need anything. This what is doesn't need evolution or de-evolution. It doesn't need to extinguish the whole population. There's no need. There's just no need. This is needless freedom. So whatever happens is just as it is. It's no purpose to it. I mean, it's so directionless, it cannot be explained. It's indescribable. This is beyond movement towards future, towards evolution, towards, uniting of everyone. This is directionless and dimensionless. It's therefore it's absolutely boundless and free as it is. Completely.
Hi. Could we
Hey.
ask you another question?
Yeah,
A little bit of a conversation.
you're in and out a little bit at the moment.
Are not. Can you hear us well?
Yeah, I think so.
For some of us that are not extremely familiar with that concept, forgive us for any questions that we might ask, and you feel they're very basic or unreasonable. Yet there are those questions that arise for us, and one of those questions is, you as what you are, what you're not are, right now in that expanded state of consciousness, or whatever else you want to describe it. How do you actually function in the 3D world? And is it that dream and that illusion, the reason for the dream and the illusion for us to be here and to have certain experience? And through that experience, in some way, again, our mind to be satisfied, our ego to be satisfied of our learning and growth and expansion. And so I understand if we're in a non-physical, that probably it's very easy to connect and to comprehend of us being just energy and being all and nothing and just being. And yet, as a human experience, in that condensed form of awareness that we chose to experience, I wonder how one lives their life in a state of non-duality, in the duality, in the 3D reality.
Okay, yeah. So no one chose this. There's no chooser already.
Right.
This so-called non-duality is not a state. It's the absence of all states. What's seeming to happen is timelessly what is already this, as it is. It's unfolding effortlessly without anyone sitting in the driver's seat. There's not even someone in the passenger seat. There's not even someone in the back seat. There's not even anyone in the boot or on the top of the car. This is all, in a way, driving itself. This is free falling. So these hand gestures, these words speaking, lifting the coffee cup is all effortlessly happening already without anyone in it. That's the thing that this me dream can't comprehend, because it lives in and on the notion that it's in control, that it's really doing this, that it's really choosing what to say, how to think.
Surely there might be an intention for you to have your morning cup of tea or cup of coffee. Is there an intention at all?
There's preferences.
Or there's an intention for you to connect to the Zoom call. So there is an intention. So there is some element of intention and purposefulness. It's not just
so it's not like the body.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same perhaps as Ramana Maharishi, where I'm just sitting all the time and I'm not even doing anything, or nothing wrong with that either, by the way, but I'm not sort of sitting somewhere just allowing the body to starve to death, or just looking at a wall all the time. I mean, I'm not doing anything. This is already happening. But yes, there's preferences that can appear. The body would seem to have a preference for coffee over tea, and certain foods, and to see certain people, but that all goes on by itself. There's no chooser already. The choosing sense, the illusion of choice, seems to appear when there's the sense of center, that when there's this center that only seems to be local in a body, does the body seem to misinterpret that someone's in there doing things, but no one's doing anything. That's what seemingly can't be comprehended, and yet it's so utterly simple and obvious that this is already all happening in free flow. Even the sense of tension, even the sense that the thought that appears that says I disagree, or I agree, I believe, I disbelieve, all thoughts and feelings and sensations and perception, all things that the body is doing, saying and thinking about, it's all happening by itself. It's not even automatic, but it's just totally as it is, free fall and chaos. Yeah. So the tension seemingly loose, and what is left is what is already this, as it is, free and simple.
Yeah, go
For you, on the other side. No, but that's, sorry.
ahead. On the other side.
Sorry, you're talking in the background.
You
We'll bring
can
you here once, Alexis.
you can converse among yourselves if you like about how bonkers and balmy this may seem to be.
Oh, no, we are all in. We're all in. We, you know, we definitely are all in. And yet you did say the body has certain preferences and choices, and at the same time, is there a notion of everything being predetermined? So although the body has
No.
certain preferences and choices, it's predetermined that you're going to have a cup of tea this morning.
No, there's no
Just like-
time. There's no real time. There's no real linear chronological line where everything is pre-written.
Right.
This is timeless. So if time was real and yet I am not, yes, this may seem like it's all pre-written somehow. It isn't. This is free-falling chaos without time in it, and yet memories can timelessly appear.
And so how one that lives a regular life, quote unquote.
Because no one's in it doing
Yeah.
it, it already happened.
No one's in it.
This
Okay,
picks
well,
up itself, goes to work.
someone that hasn't got the awareness or the perception or the experience of anything different but duality, how would one would benefit from the concept of non-duality?
It doesn't seem like anyone's benefiting from concepts of non-duality because it's not a thing to live by. This isn't living with a bunch of concepts and beliefs and philosophies about how to live. The body is just doing what it's doing, and the words fall out of absence. So no one's living by this. This is the death of the dream of someone ever trying to live anything. It's just aliveness as it is.
And what is ultimately there? Is there energy there? Is there creator? What ultimately is there? Is there
Nothing.
just
Nothing.
flowing energy?
Just nothing.
Just nothing.
Yeah.
Void. Is that void, or it's not even void? It's really
Empty and yet it's full. It's nothing and it's everything. It doesn't make sense. No word can seem to describe what is, and yet it's stunningly ordinary. I mean, I'm not seeing rainbows and gold and colours and everything. There's nothing magical.
No?
And yet it is magical as it is. It's totally the end of the need for anything special. This is stunningly as it is, which is wonderfully simple. And it's no different to anything anyone else is seemingly having. And yet it's not a having dream. So what is happening is what is already. There's nothing remarkable about any of this. It's just as it is, free. In a way, it's the end of the dream of the need for remarkable things. This is as it is, totally free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This dream may go on waiting for something amazing to happen. And what could happen is that it just collapses without anyone even noticing it, because who would notice absence? It's not an event or an experience. It's not a new state. It's not a state at all.
I can only share what's apparently happening. Yeah. And that there is no subject and no object. And sometimes there is an apparent struggling with family stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexis again.
Hello.
So this waiting for when it's gonna happen again is driving me insane.
Yeah, there is a kind of insanity about this. Yeah.
What can I do about it?
Oh,
I'm gonna shut up.
no, you know, there's no need for anyone to shut up or to keep talking. It is as it is. It's free. Yeah. But how could, you know, I mean, how could this tell that how to be? It, you know, how could anyone tell anyone else how to be? It is already as it is. Waiting is what's happening. It's free. It doesn't matter. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's not a mistake. It just is what it is.
Seems I need to hear it, that's why I'm asking. I need you to tell me that all
But you
all
don't
the
really. You
time.
don't. No, you don't need me. You don't need anything.
I
This,
know, and yet I'm listening to you and Easy like all day long because what else to do,
yeah,
to make it happen. Like
yeah. But also, you don't need to not do that either. There's
yeah,
no instruction whatsoever because body is already doing what it's doing, and it's free to be as it is. But this, even the sense that I need to make something happen, I need to do something, I need to bring about my own absence so that everything can be better is just that's us all what's happening. Yeah, it's not bad or
it's
wrong.
just the preference right now, really. It's the preference. Like there is no interest in anything else. It's just what's being preferred right now to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And all the time that, you know, listening to speakers positionless, it would seem to be allowing, perhaps it might, you know, that can just be a basking. I don't know a better word for it really, but basking can just seem to be what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with basking, there may also be waiting or anticipating, expecting, demanding something new.
Hi, Alexis.
Hey,
I always thought when the me drops, this will know better. It doesn't.
yeah,
It doesn't know.
no. Yeah, doesn't know anything. Yeah.
Yeah, always hope like there's a higher intelligence that knows better than this little me, but it's not like that.
Yeah. It's in a way, it's the end of knowing, and it's also the end of the need to know anything. Yeah.
Mm. And this me want to know the feeling of not knowing.
Yeah, because it thinks it's something. Yeah. That perhaps it's a
Yeah.
sense that, oh, okay, what does this person know? What have they got? Blah, blah. Yeah. So this freedom and aliveness, that is everything, is dancing in and as everything. It's the sitting down, it's the standing up, lying down, walking around. It's nature. It's dancing in the fingernails and in the fingertips. It's dancing vibrantly, chaotically, everywhere and yet nowhere. Spaceless, timeless, consciousless freedom. Never knowing, never going, never coming, never revealing or hiding, never secret, never found, never lost. Just all there is. Even the waiting around for something to happen, or the wanting something to happen, is the dance of aliveness, playing freely as a sense of purpose or direction. A movement, a path somewhere else. It's this, pathlessly pathing. It's so free, it cannot possibly be comprehended by anything, because there's no separation for there to be anything other than what's happening, and yet what's happening is limitless, unconditional love, bouncing, dancing, singing and laughing, playing, and screaming and yelling in agony too. This is a freedom that doesn't meet the needs or the expectations of anyone, because there is no one for this to be a preferable or an unpreferable way. Pleasure, pain, comfort, discomfort, positivity, negativity is all of this. 'Tis this, and yet this is no thing, unnameable, indescribable, ineffable, totally free, as it is already, timeless, complete, without need, without expectation, without desire, without agenda, and yet, why not? Why not? No rules, just chaos. Just chaos dancing elegantly and clumsily. Much love. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Alexis.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.